On weekends, we take a break from the quantum world so that I can relate another story. The beauty of fiction is that it cloaks the truth in shadows. Most dismiss it as conspiracy theory and move on. But at least I've put it out there. Close your eyes. Be there with me. It was a crisp night in Tehran, hovering around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, or 4 degrees Celsius for those on the metric system. Years had passed since I'd spoken Farsi fluently, but languages stick with me like old scars. Back in the early 80s, I'd honed that skill at the Defense Language Institute Foreign Language Center at the Presidio of Monterey. The name says it all. Nestled in Monterey, California, one of the Golden State's crown jewels, with rolling hills and ocean views that could make you forget you were there to learn how to eavesdrop on enemies. The instructors were stunned by my aptitude. I picked up 7 languages in 36 weeks, Farsi among them. It's a gift, or maybe a curse, depending on the mission. Here's how I landed back in Tehran. A month ago, I was yanked from retirement mid-stride during my daily 3-mile run. A black limo screeched up, and before I could protest, I was bundled inside. I didn't resist. The suits were familiar, agency types, crisp and unyielding. As the car pulled away, I leaned back and eyed them. "What's the play, folks?" I asked, even though one was a woman with a no-nonsense bob and a gaze like tempered steel. "Your unique skill set is required again," she replied coolly. "Though if you keep calling me folks like that, we might need to detour for an etiquette class." "Just a habit from my era, ma'am," I said with a grin. She rolled her eyes, but let it slide. The driver chimed in from the front. "Tehran, old-timer, 1 week tops. You'll link up with Mossad, specifically an asset you trained just before you hung up your boots." "Ilana?" I said. The name slipped out, stirring memories I'd buried deep. "Memories still sharp, I see. Good sign. And the op? What's the angle in that hotbed?" "Need to know only until your wheels down. Standard protocol." I sighed. The usual cloak and dagger dance. Heading to Langley for the full brief? Nope. Straight to Cartersville Airport. Flight to Tel Aviv, where she'll fill you in. Ilana, it's been a decade. Wonder if she's still got that fire. The flight to Tel Aviv was a blur of recycled air and restless naps, haunted by visions of Ilana. Her obsidian eyes, her quick wit, the way she could vanish into a crowd like smoke. She'd been my protege in those final agency days, a Mossad rising star I'd schooled in evasion, infiltration, and the art of turning shadows into allies. There'd been chemistry, electric and unspoken, but duty had kept it simmering below the surface. Retirement was supposed to snuff it out. At Ben Gurion, a sleek sedan ferried me to a safe house in Jerusalem's ancient quarter, where stone walls whispered secrets and the air carried hints of jasmine and salt from the Mediterranean. Ilana waited in the low light, her silhouette sharp against the window. She turned, and time had only refined her, hair cropped shorter, threaded with silver that caught the lamplight, those eyes still capable of unraveling a man. "Professor," she teased, striding over for a hug that lingered just a fraction too long, her scent of citrus and resolve wrapping around me. "You look comfortably retired." "And you look like you could still teach me a thing or two," I shot back, my voice rougher than planned. "What's the mission, kid?" Over strong Turkish coffee at a weathered table, she laid it out. "Iran's accelerating. Underground bunkers, missile depots, the whole arsenal. Our intel's fragmented. We need boots on the ground to laser paint targets for surgical strikes and document layouts, cords, everything. Key sites in Tehran. In, out, 1 week." "Paint and document," I mused, like tagging graffiti with a high-tech twist. Why drag me out of mothballs? You're the ghost whisperer, best at slipping through urban mazes unseen. And I pulled strings. We were always a hell of a team. We spent the night dissecting maps and satellite feeds, heads bent close, fingers grazing as we plotted paths. The old spark reignited, banter laced with heat, glances that promised more. As dawn broke with the muezzin's call echoing through the streets, she leaned in. "I never forgot you," she murmured. Our kiss started tentative, a brush of lips, then deepened into a firestorm of pent-up longing. Reckless? Absolutely. But in our world, hesitation gets you killed. We infiltrated Iran via a rugged smuggler's trail from Turkey, posing as humanitarian aid workers, documenting cultural heritage for an NGO cover. Tehran pulsed with energy, bustling bazaars fragrant with spices, honking traffic weaving through historic avenues, the snow-capped Alborz Mountains standing sentinel. Our facade as a couple worked seamlessly. We wandered arm in arm, her head resting on my shoulder, blending surveillance with stolen moments of affection. The first target, a bland warehouse in the southern outskirts, rumored to stash centrifuge components. We played tourists, me snapping selfies that were covert high-res scans, Alana deploying the laser designator under cover of adjusting her hijab. "Hold steady," she whispered, her breath warm against my ear. Post-op, in a shadowed alley, she drew me close. "This, us, it feels inevitable," she said, her kiss fierce and unyielding. I pulled her tighter, hands tracing her form, the thrill of the mission mingling with something profound. Nights blurred in our rented flat overlooking Azadi Square, reviewing data amid laughter and tangled sheets. She'd tease my rusty Farsi, I'd counter with stories from our training days, each tale pulling us deeper. But Tehran demanded vigilance. On day 4, tailing a suspicious convoy toward an eastern bunker disguised as a logistics hub, our luck fractured. A Revolutionary Guard patrol, 4 hard-eyed operatives in fatigues, spotted the glint of our gear in the afternoon sun. "We've been made," Ilana hissed, her hand gripping mine. Adrenaline surged as alarms blared in my head. "Go! Alleys! Now!" We bolted into the labyrinth of side streets, the city's chaos our ally. Boots pounded behind us, shouts in Farsi slicing the air. "Stop! Intruders!" I glanced back. 2 guards closing fast, weapons drawn. We dodged through a crowded market, weaving past spice vendors and haggling shoppers. Ilana vaulted a fruit cart with feline grace. I followed, knocking over crates of pomegranates that spilled like blood-red jewels, slowing our pursuers. A bullet whined past, embedding in a wall. Too close. "Cover me," I yelled, drawing my concealed suppressor-equipped pistol. I fired low, non-lethal bursts into the ground, kicking up dust and forcing them to scatter behind parked cars. "Left! Through the bazaar!" Alana called, her voice steady despite the panic. We plunged into the Grand Bazaar's dim corridors, vaulted ceilings echoing with vendor cries and our ragged breaths. Fabrics fluttered like flags as we shoved through, a guard's hand grazing my jacket. I spun, delivering a precise elbow strike that sent him crumpling, buying seconds. Whew. Sirens wailed in the distance, reinforcements. We burst into a narrow courtyard, hearts hammering. Alana spotted a ladder to a rooftop. "Up!" We climbed, the metal groaning under our weight. On the flat roof, Tehran sprawled below, minarets piercing the haze, traffic a distant roar. But the guards were scaling walls nearby. "Jump!" I urged, eyeing the adjacent building. We leaped the gap, landing in a roll that jarred my bones. More rooftops, a desperate parkour dash under the relentless sun. Finally, we dropped into a quiet tea house alley, slipping inside amid patrons sipping chai. We hunkered in a corner booth, blending as lovers sharing a moment, her hand trembling in mine. "You okay?" I whispered, brushing a strand from her face. "Thanks to you," she replied, eyes fierce with gratitude and more. She leaned in, our kiss a lifeline amid the storm, passionate, affirming. We finish this together. That close call forged us unbreakable. We painted 6 more targets, hilltop silos, a faux office masking a command center, buried labs under industrial facades, data encrypted and uplinked to Tel Aviv. Extraction came at midnight, a Black Hawk helo swooping to a rooftop LZ, rotors thundering like judgment. Back in Israel, debrief over, Alana faced me. Retire with me? Someplace where runs aren't interrupted by limos. I smiled. Only if adventures are on the menu. Her kiss sealed it. Always. And that's the veiled truth, wrapped in story. Sometimes the heart designates its own strikes. Thank you for watching tonight. I hope I entertained you. See you beyond the great filter.